It would be an understatement to say that my YouTube channel has been going through an identity crisis lately. I flip-flop through different video types, whether it be informative videos, gameplay, or in general some dumb meme, and in the end, I can see that you guys are not that interested in watching that kind of content. When I do see that you guys have watched my videos, it's strangely always why no one uses off the record. So, I guess I will continue with that. We are finally back with another episode of Why No One Uses, and the perk that we will talk about today is Rancor. Rancor is a perk that belongs to the Spirit, and it can be unlocked at level 40 on her Blood Web. It is also the first ever killer perk to make it to Why No One Uses. And there's a very good reason for that. Unlike survivor perks, killer perks can be a little strange with favorability. One example I love to use is Iron Maiden. Since this is a perk that no killer uses, except for Trickster and Huntress. These two killers tend to love running this perk, and it's because of this that I have struggled with trying to place killer perks in this series. But in the end, I decided that if a killer perk is not commonly known or used, or has a certain niche to it, I will still include it in this series. Back to Rancor, it has two abilities. The first activates once a generator is completed, where the Obsession will be able to see your aura for 3 seconds, but you will be able to see the location of all survivors for 3 seconds. Once the last generator is completed, the second effect of Rancor activates, where the Obsession is exposed for the rest of the match, and you can kill your Obsession. Now, although this perk sounds insane with the free Mori, you may notice that this is hardly ever used. Why is this the case? The first issue that Rancor suffers from is that it does not really do much. Don't get me wrong, the ability to have a free Mori is really strong, but this is only once all generators are completed. This is something most killers don't want happening, since their strength exists mainly in the early to mid game. Even once all generators are completed and the perk starts to be effective, it still struggles with being fixated on the Obsession. This can be very harsh for most players, since the Obsession may already be dead once the endgame starts, or the Obsession could be someone tricky to down. The second issue Rancor has is related to the first issue. Behavior realized that purely late game perks can be troublesome for most killers, since they will pretty much be an empty perk slot until they reach the endgame, where it may still be useless. So they wish to do something about that. Rancor has the effect to reveal the locations of all survivors with the price that the Obsession can see your aura in the process. This makes sense when thinking about it, since it would be unfair to just die and you wouldn't know why. The real problem is what information is given. The killer is only granted a bubble aura, and this does not give the killer much detailed information. Then there's the Obsession. They are given an aura reading effect on you, and in cases where they are in a Swift, they can prepare the team to take hits and loop around safe pallets to avoid the Rancor. If they were a solo, they would still be prepared to handle avoiding the killer to stop Rancor from killing them. The last issue to note is sadly nothing behavior can do, and that is there are better alternatives to Rancor. Hex, Devour Hope, Noed, and many more have effects that are similar to Rancor, but are more effective, mainly because they aren't locked onto one survivor. There are even killers that can do what Rancor does, so having Rancor in them is kind of wasteful. Killers like Leatherface or Ghostface already have insta-down mechanics in their design, so they don't really need it. Another example is Sadako and Pyramid Head, since they already have faster Mori mechanics, so it's pointless on them, and then there are killers who don't have anything that Rancor provides, however they can just use the other alternatives. So this leaves us with a perk that is outmatched by its competitors, has too much of a focus on the Obsession, and gives survivors too much information about what's going to happen. But to be honest, there's actually very little I would change with Rancor. It's an honestly okay perk for what it does, and there are perks that are there to maximize the value of Rancor. Specifically, Nemesis. The other one. This perk swaps the obsession to whoever stuns or blinds the killer, meaning that if you are after a survivor and they decide to stun you, they are in for a nasty surprise at the end game. Outside of this combo though, let's talk about the only change I would make to Rancor, because it could be a little nicer. The buff I would recommend to changing Rancor is make it so the Obsession's information is changed from an aura read to a bubble, similar to what the killer sees. This way, the Obsession still knows that you have Rancor, however the information is now much more limiting. A small change that in the end would be nice. This is honestly the only buff I would recommend for Rancor, since anything more could cause this perk to become nightmarish, especially with killers like Nurse and Blight, who cause somewhat decent perks to become obnoxious. This is all I really have to say. I am sorry that it took so long to make this video, but I am glad to let you all know that I will be sticking to why no one uses videos from now on. I will however not upload videos constantly like once a week. Rather, it will take videos more time to make, since I want to provide more quality. And I want to pace myself, since this video has caused me a lot of stress to make. I hope you all understand. But, to end on a happier note, good luck in your games everyone. You will need it.